Hello and welcome to this edition of Consider This. I'm your host, Charles Lake, and today we're going to do a thing about IVF and why IVF is so needed in the United States. Not only in the United States, but around the world, because a lot of the agencies, the government agencies that are supposed to be protecting us, have basically been looking the other way. So we're going to get started now, and let's go to the paperwork. And again, we're hoping that you become patrons and help us along with this project. We're asking if you can afford it, $5 a month, so that we can keep the research and the website and everything going. At the end of the show, I'll show you some of the research that we get coming in and why it takes so long to go through it. And you can click on this and it'll take you to our Patreon page. Alright, most of our work today is I downloaded some new stuff and some stuff that's already on the web page. But BPA is a synthetic sex hormone, and it's in our food and in our water, and we're going to go into that right now. The baffling history, and this page is done Hope for Cancer, and it's a very good page. So I brung this up, and I'm going to let you read it. That way there you can't say I said something wrong, because I'm always saying something wrong. I have very bad dyslexia and I miss words sometimes. So I want you to read this, and I'm just going to bring some highlights out. It's in our canned food. So if you eat canned food, the liner in that can is BPA. So it leaches into the food, and it keeps the can from rusting, so it keeps you from getting botulism, but it also creates a lot of other health problems. And it's linked to the other chemical, styrene, that in our plastics, and we'll go about talking about that. It negatively impacts fertilization, so in both men and women, and we'll get into that more down as we talk about it. It migrates from the food containers and the water bottles and medical devices into our body. The other thing it does, and I'm going to go back to, you're going to have to look at my ugly mug. You ever get a receipt, and after a while you end up with this, and the only thing on it is the writing that you put on it? That's because this here document is processed with BPA. So if you're going to give your kids something to play with, do not give them your cash register receipts. If you don't want them drinking it in their baby bottle and so forth and so on, that's a real good thing not to do. Okay, let's get back to this. I picked this here. Scientists discovered it back in the 1800s. This will be on my website. It's not on my website right now, but it will be on my website within a day or two. So it'll be on there by the time I upload the video. This here is something that you really should look at. It causes obesity and overweight. So it's fatty tissue, just go through it. Coronary hypertension is high blood pressure, thyroid, I had my thyroid removed with 4 different kind of cancers, type 2 diabetes. I've been a diabetic since 1992. Insulin resistance, which makes you a diabetic. So that's that part of it. Reproductive disorders, and it goes into all that. Reduced sperm for men, premature ovary failure. It causes miscarriages and so forth and so on. Decreased fertilization. And neurological disorders. Mental development retardation. Reduced cognitive ability. Depression. This stuff's really not that good for us. It causes problems, other problems, breast and prostate cancer. So that's some of it. And this would be a good page really to look at. I've got to highlight it for you. Another halfway decent page here is the timeline into phase out, which we haven't gotten a phase out yet. They're still considering this, but there's one thing I wanted you to see, and it's way down. Where are we? This is quite large, and it's very good to go through. There's quite a bit highlighted in here, but this is my first highlight, and this is April 16, 2008 is when they decided the draft, and please read this and define it. BPA is linked to early puberty, breast cancer, prostate effect, everything that we saw back on the other page. It's just being reiterated here, and there's much more down in the bottom. So this is stuff that you'd want to know, but this is when they started to take this a little more serious, but not serious enough. Okay, this page is already on my website. Let's see here, I thought I had this ready. Old man syndrome. Okay. Again, I'd like you to read this, and I'll give you time to read it. And it just destroys what humans take for granted. This and the chemical styrene are both chemicals in plastic. Styrene is more into the polystyrene foam and polystyrene, and there's others. But BPA, it's what hardens plastic. So this here, we went too far, didn't we? Yeah, so we got to go down another 2. There we go. So if we go down here, it affects men in various ways, and it affects women in various ways. But this is a good paper to take a look at. I didn't go through the center of it because I'm not a doctor. I am an old truck driver who was poisoned back in 1992. So I've been living this. So it gives you some of the stuff on the thyroid, and it's a good page to read, and it's got BPA, and So this is something that you really should take to heart, especially if you're looking to get pregnant. Now, the next thing I want to go through is birth in the United States. And the closest I could get to 2024 is 2021, where there were around 3.66 million live births in the United States. And I just done the United States to show you, I give you a little context on this. If it wasn't for IVF, it would be a reduced number by 97,128. Okay, which tells you that there were almost 100,000 children born by the use of IVF. So, if we eliminate that, the amount of children that would be born in the United States would be about a third lower. And, you know, Congress, the Senate had a meeting not too long ago, and they said 2% of the children. I think they should look at their facts, because just going by the CDC's own facts, there are a hell of a lot more than 2% of children being born through IVF. And I put this in here to let you know how expensive it is for the parents who are going through and trying to have a larger family and have to do it through IVF. There are insurance companies that provide, but if you read it straight through, it's all these insurance companies offer a wide spectrum of benefits, including IVF treatment. However, your employer has to purchase these features in order for you to be covered. You can't hardly get an employer to cover basics. They go for the cheapest insurance they can because it costs them money. I know that. You know that. So if you look at it, and that's about the only thing I wanted to show you on this is, you know, it breaks it down, and it might be a good page for you to look at. This here, right here, is the website I got it off of. So, now, in 2017, I brung this up, and I'd like you to read this whole section here on the abstract. And it brings out a lot of things, you know, widely used in the plastic industry and so forth and so on. It's an endocrine disrupting chemical. Your brain, your pancreas, there's a lot of parts of your body that is run by the there I go again, I can't say it, endocrine system. So in a woman, there are even more. In a man, it's a little bit less because we have less going on in our body. But it does affect the prostate, gives you prostate cancer if you're a man. And if you're a woman, it can affect your uterus. You can affect it affects, and it affects the children. Like I showed you, early puberty is one of the reasons why they got rid of it out of the baby bottles and the sippy cups and stuff, because they found it brought on early puberty. So they figured, oh, well, we won't give it to the kids until after a certain age. But they didn't stop producing it in our water bottles and anything else, canned food and much, much more. So this is a very good page to read. It mimics hormones present in the human body and then bind with and act with hormone receptors, and this is serious, especially if you are looking to have a bigger family or expecting to live a longer life, because it does affect you with cancers. And this one here, I forgot to bring it to the top. By effects of bisphenol A and styrene on fertilization. And this is on purple sea urchins, but it does mention the human body in here, because they already knew this going into it. And this is right here out of California. And as I said, you can find a lot of stuff in here. Here's a little tidbit for you. Through plastics typically constitute only 10% of discarded human waste. Okay, so that's one way of putting it, and that's 10% that goes into the oceans and so forth and so on. But there, on another aspect of this, I didn't download it and didn't bring it up yet, but they've been finding all kinds of plastics in feces, human feces. So you don't eat it, but because we get everything in plastic, there's microplastics in it that come into the human body. When you're drinking your water and stuff, pieces so small you can't see. And there's dust that makes it so you breathe it in. So that we have there. There's another page I'd like you to see, and this here, I mean, you can go through and just take a look at some of the stuff that I highlighted. This will be on the website, but we're going to go down, and on the website, if you go down to the child data, and right here, the 2018 American Academy of Pediatrics says some common food additives may pose health risks to children. And if you click on that, you come here, and I had to put it in a sheet because it wouldn't download. But if you go down here, it points out that out of nearly 4,000 food additives, 64% of them had no research showing that they're safe for people to eat or drink. And that's with BPA, because it was grandfathered in, and so was styrene, which is, and if we go down here, avoid plastics with 3, which is basically something like BPA, and number 6 and number 7. So if you get any recycling codes with 3, 6, or 7, you really shouldn't be eating out of that. So this is something to really think about. We should get plastics away from our food. We have great engineers. We have people that are smarter than can be. And just because the FDA and the other agencies that are supposed to protect us from this, they're looking the other way. Styrene is made from oil products. It's a byproduct of making gasoline, for the most part. It's not really, not in the quantities that they make it out in nature. In nature, it's very small. And the only reason it gets given, they say nowadays you can test and you can get it everywhere. Well, anything that burns, whether it be you burning garbage, you burning plastic, or you're driving to work in your automobile with a gas engine or a diesel engine, it creates styrene. Anything that burns creates styrene, benzene, and formaldehyde. So, styrene, because of all the exhaust and everything else, is in everything nowadays. It loves fatty tissue, just like BPA. BPA likes fatty tissue. So these are two chemicals that really should be taken off the market as far as our food supply. If they want to make plastic for cars and computers and TVs and CDs and DVDs, which are pretty much outdated now, fine. Just inform the workers that work in the factories that, this can happen to you, and we're going to put good insurance on you so you have it. That's not going to happen because the insurance costs too much. So I'm hoping I helped you a little bit today. It is all about protecting your health, protecting your kids' health, your family. Whether you're a grandparent trying to protect everybody from you all the way down to your grandkids, or whether you're a parent trying to protect your children. This is very, very important that we do this. I have much more here on child data and diabetes and so forth, and we're going to get into that further down the road. I'm also going to be putting up, like I said, I lived this. I was poisoned while loading polystyrene food containers at a food warehouse. We used to haul them in 53-foot trailers, just regular trailers. They're dry vans. And they were stacked from floor to ceiling all the way to as far up as they could get them. And usually there were anywhere from 90 to 100 pallets worth inside the trailer that the driver I was the driver at the time, the food warehouse refused to put a person in the trailer because they didn't know what you hauled previously. So they didn't want to get their people infected by what was in the trailer. So they made the drivers unload it. And so I ended up being poisoned after 2.5 years. It was pretty nasty. I came home in April, it's either 6th or the 9th, in 1992. And we're going to go back here because any place around the eyes, around the mouth, if you crinkled your nose, your hands, you bend, anywhere that would bend was cracked open and bleeding, and my skin was a fuchsia color. And when I went to the hospital the next day, because I tried to go to the hospital over in Vermont, and I was told my truck was too big and they didn't have an ambulance, and it was better if I went home because I only lived in New York and it was only a couple hours away. So I did that. I went home, but by the time I got home, I was so exhausted that I couldn't move. And so I called Albany Medical Center, Albany, New York. It's supposed to be this teaching hospital that they get you, supposed to be really smart. And I got there and they came after me in hazmat suits when they came into the room. And after being there all day, the doctor came to the nurse and says, I don't know what to diagnose him with. Well, the nurse says, contact dermatitis. Could have been poison ivy. But anyway, as life went on, I've had 7 migraine-induced strokes and 5 heart attacks, and they took my thyroid with cancer. And about 3 months after I was poisoned, still in '92, I was diagnosed with diabetes, which is one of the diseases that these 2 chemicals cause. So this is a word from the wise, or not so wise, but we're getting there, that if you take care of your body, it'll help you. I'd like to let you know that we're going to do at least 1 show a week, like I said, on Patreon. And I'm going to put some smaller things up on Facebook and YouTube and things that point you to the shows that we're doing on Patreon. Most of the shows on Patreon right now are free. And they're going to continue to be free. If you can afford $5 a month, which is basically less than a cup of coffee nowadays, which will help me keep my computers and my website and everything going. Because right now I'm doing it on Social Security, which don't pay much. And I'll keep coming here, and I'm going to put a bunch of stuff that I did back in New York when I lived in New York up. And also want you to know that this is something that will help you for your life and help your children's life. We're going to go into different things next. I've got a lot of things to put up. I just found out I wear hearing aids now because they found out that the inside of my skin in my ear has dried out from the chemicals. And when the wax comes out, it makes them bleed and stuff. So I've been losing my hearing from the styrene, and so I've got a whole bunch of medical reports on that. And it takes time to go through all these medical reports. I get them from academia, and here, let's just pick one. We're early developmental. And as you can, stop. But as you can see, there's I'm not going to go through that right now. But as you can see, I have, what's it say, 1,142 medical studies to go through. And I take the abstract and I read it, and then I go to the conclusion and I read that. And if I can make sense out of the two, I put it on the website. So right now there's about 80 medical studies on the website that you're free to go through, download, whatever you need to do. That will help you out. Some of them are very long, so if you're going to, don't print them, download them, and then go through them on your computer, because you're going to go through a lot of paper. Other than that, I thank you for watching. Please be a Patreon for $5 a month, and hopefully we can get the FDA and the EPA and everybody else that's supposed to be protecting our health doing their job. And to do that, you might have to write some letters to politicians. Some politicians, if you watch my last show, are not interested, and that's mostly the Republicans. The Democrats say they're interested, but like I showed you, I gave them a B for writing the bill to eliminate plastics. I gave them a D for the way it was written. So this is important, and if we're going to get anywhere with bringing down the cost of health care, which is very important to everybody, because in the United States, even with insurance, it can put you in the poorhouse. And I was making $85,000 a year as an owner-operator truck driver over the road. And when I got poisoned in 1992, I ended up on Social Security disability, which cut my pay drastically. It gave me $590 a month, and I still had 4 children home. So, think about it, people. It's much more easier to fight while you can, instead of fighting after the fact of what happened to me. Because for over 10 years, I couldn't fight nothing. I fought to stay alive. And several of the drivers that drove with me out of the same company, 5 of them in fact, are deceased, and were deceased within 2 years after we were poisoned. I was just very healthy before I was poisoned, and I made it through. Some days I wish I didn't. Some days I'm very happy to be here, and today is one of them days. So if you wake up in the morning, it's a good morning. Have a good day, and please take care of yourself.